hired a different company to do a feasibility study and kind of come up with the similar results to where it's just not real feasible to try to rehab the whole building. It's just not even real feasible to rehab the main building. And I think that's probably why nothing happened then either. And it's been a problem for the city for a long time, trying to figure out what to do with it. You know, you've heard me say before, if we don't do something, then it's going to take care of itself, because it has been anyway. It's just been continuing to deteriorate. We use such a small percentage of the building. I think he's made a good, solid recommendation here. These drawings and this layout are somewhat preliminary, although there has been a lot of thought and stuff going into them. We'll add in there that when we got the grant to refurbish the building or to rehab the building, we spent a lot of time going through the options of doing just that and not demoing, even though one of those options was always to demo part of the building, particularly the auditorium part, because it's in a lot worse condition than the front part of the building. But we just really couldn't find a good way to make that work either, after looking at many different ways. So we reached out to the funding agency that's providing the bulk of the funding for this, which is the state of Ohio, by the way, in the capital grant money. And they did, after seeing the analysis and the feasibility study, they did agree to allow us to use that same grant money, same funding, to tear it down and rebuild it, basically. Whereas originally it was to refurbish it. We thought if we're going to do that, that we would like to replicate, is not the right word, but to make it look similar and reuse what we could from the old building to try to, and that's why we want to, if we do this, we want to reuse as much of the original limestone that we can. And they had it looked at and said that it can be salvaged and reused. The limestone is still in really good shape, it's just dirty. It's the brick that is deteriorated, and we don't know what the life of the face of it is. And on the auditorium, it's a lot worse than on the front building.
It's a different brick from the two buildings, even though they were built within the same project time. It has a different glazing on it, so the brick on the Memorial Building is held up a lot better.
So I guess in summary, I'll just say, there's been a lot of work and a lot of thought put into this, and we've looked at so many different options and different ways of going to settle on this. And I will say the administration is in agreement with BDT that this is probably our best option and our best way to get our bang for the buck for the money we have, and it's the most affordable way to do it too. If we were not to do this, the option would probably just be to go somewhere else, frankly. But that doesn't give an option of what to do in the Memorial Building. I feel like we can't abandon it. We got to do something with it, and so we feel like this is kind of a win-win. It gives us what we need. It brings all the city functions back into one central location. By say all of them, I mean it brings the auditor's office back into the what we're calling here City Hall. It brings the utility office back in. The utility office and administration will be kind of ran as one unit there when you come in, and it brings the council meeting room back into the Memorial Building. All those functions at one time were in the Memorial Building. It's been my goal all along is to get them all back there, and this does provide for that. So sorry to interrupt there, Jim.
Oh, that's fine.
Throw that out there too.
Appreciate that.
And open it back up for questions.
Is the
$5 million question. How long would this take? I mean, once you got started, what's the time period?
Well, Randy's got me on a short leash because he's got to spend that money by, what's that, you know, Tracy?
At the end of next year. We think we could probably get an extension on it, but
But the intention to jump on it while we're fresh on it.
we're behind schedule already. We were approved for a grant, I don't know, Tracy, how long ago? Last year,
Yeah, about a year.
it was last year's capital bill, but we couldn't figure out, you know, the first time that BDT came here and presented options, all of them were a lot more expensive than this, and we just didn't have even close to enough money to do it.
Well, and also, I actually had a new build on that one, but didn't recommend it at all, but that was because of the current funding.
Yeah,
And that
originally,
opened up, because that was most of the funding was for the building renovations.
and that's why before we considered this option, we wanted to make sure that we could still use that grant money if we get this way. And we can. We got that in writing. Tracy got it in writing.
Will the auditorium be saved?
No.
No. I feel like that's a big loss for the community. A lot of people use that space. I think that would,
Definitely a loss. I don't know, you know.
That's it. I mean,
It's
that's-
debatable on how much it gets used.
okay.
Other questions? I just have a $2 question. How are we paying for the rest of it? We have grant money, how are we funding the rest of it? $4.6 million is a lot of money to spend to tear a building down that we're trying to save. I like the idea of, you know, making it look like the old building aesthetically, but for $4.6 million, I feel like we could do something better, just like, these are not the drawings that we saw last time, or even the ones, so I kind of like the idea of saving the auditorium and making so that, I understand that's more expensive, but if we're just gonna tear it down, maybe we should think of other options, where we could make something bigger and put more people in, rather than just the offices that we've saved here.
Back to the auditorium, and Jim can answer this.
My first question was, how are we gonna pay for the rest?
Well, the actual construction cost is about $3.5 million. We probably have close to 3 of that already. Actually, we probably have 3.5 already. The other figures you're talking about there, the city construction management, these are fees that he throws in there. We actually plan on doing that in-house. We have been doing some of our administration in-house, so we think we can cover that cost ourselves. It'll actually not be a cost, we're actually going to do that. Jim shows these, because he's just used to showing all this. There's also about almost 400,000 contingency. That may or may not be needed. And then there's the architect's fees, we would have to. So, I mean, Mr. Reed could probably answer the question maybe a little better than me, but we think that we could manage this. We think we could manage this, and most of the money is already there for it.
Mr. Reed?
As far as in the budget this year, was $1 million put aside before, there was $600,000 that's been earmarked for it. If you can use the capital budget grant, and I spoke last time, if they were not basically tearing down, I am against remodeling the Memorial Building, because I don't think it's practical. And there is money available. We have enough money, I believe, currently within $300,000 or $400,000 right now to build the building. And we have the other money in the budget that we could move. So yes, the city of Jackson, without any shortages in the budget this year, could move forward. With getting the capital grant and having $2 million of city money put towards it.
One other question too, then what happens with these other buildings? This one in particular. What happens with this building? Does this building get renovated? Does this building get torn down eventually? What's the idea here? Because we're gonna move out, so there's gonna be plenty of room for activities for the police department to maybe expand their footprint here, but they have capital improvement, I'm sure, as well. Saw that in the budget, so what do we do here? We're gonna have money to fix this building later on. Yes or no?
This building, we haven't discussed it. My own long-term plan would be to replace this building too someday. It's gonna need it. I'd like to have a new police station someday. But in the short term, this is the only room that would become available, and we would probably use it for record storage. We have a lot of record storage. There's a lot of memorial building, a lot of the auditorium area, stage and all that is full of things in storage right now that would have to be moved somewhere. A lot of it would be hopefully gotten rid of, but there's still a lot of records the city has to maintain. There's a lot of auditors' records. There's a lot of records in our basement at the current auditorium, at the current memorial building. So we figure that this would become a storage area in the short term. Back to, and then with a long-term plan of rebuilding a new police station too.
What happens with the auditor's office? What else is in your building? Like, what's in the back of your building? City equipment stores, stuff like that?
Well, right now, that's for distribution and collection of water and sewer, and they're very cramped. We really don't have an office. We really don't have an office for the office managers, for the operations managers. So we would incorporate that into that use. There again, our hope is to someday give our distribution and collection crews a little nicer place to work out of too, because it's really inadequate down there. But in the short term, they would probably use it.
Mr. Reed?
As far as where our office is currently, that was wastewater, water distribution. And they were nice enough when we said we were moving out of the top of the Memorial Building, because we have that prerogative to say, this is unsafe, we're moving. And they were nice enough to give us that little area, and we were really cramped there. But we took space from them, is what happened, and they gave it to us. So we share their utilities, help them in that way, but we took 3 rooms that they use.
Question, Mr. Elliott? I don't have a question. I just, like I say, I like this. It's exciting. As far as the money, there'll be cost overruns. Of course, there'll be a need for money, but we have a constant income flow. We can easily do municipal bonds, and I don't see money as a problem whatsoever. So we should go get the building we want and build it. Let's do it. It's just me.
Get him a shovel.
Oh, man, I'm getting over that.
Other questions? Mr. Thomas? Mr. Thomas, we thank you for coming this evening.
I was just expanding just a little bit more on the auditorium, because there's been a couple questions about it, because, everybody kind of has at least a nostalgic opinion of that. But saving it is essentially costly as rebuilding it, because that building, and Jim could explain this to you, let him answer questions following me about it, but it's an actual brick structure. It is like 3 widths of brick tied together, and it's not just a brick veneer like built today, so we can't just go replace the brick on the outside of that building. And they're deteriorated badly. The face is substantial, face is lost from them already. So that's not unless we were to change it and just coat it with siding or stucco or something, and then everybody'd hate it. Saving it is tearing it down and rebuilding it. And the cost of that is just, this whole project, if we wanted to do that, would probably double. And, then trying to justify that use for that facility, so the city needs, it's not like it used to be, and the need is not there like it used to be for that facility either. It's just not. A lot of people don't.
Thank you, Mayor. Anyone else? Well, again, Mr. Thomas, thank you very much for bringing your work to us. It's very unique, and I think council will digest this a little bit, and I'm sure there'll be some meetings that'll be called for further discussion that'll need your expertise.
If I can help in any way, right into that, get hold of me, so.
but we're still meeting every week about this project, so. And,
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Tracy. Okay, so next on our agenda is the approval of the minutes. In each of your packets was the minutes from the May 12th meeting. Is there any objections or corrections to the minutes as presented to council? Being none, the chair would entertain a motion to accept the minutes as presented. Mr. Bob, is there a second? Mr. Newkirk, second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The motion is carried. Next, we will step into our committee reports. We'll begin with utility. Mr. Newkirk?
Report.
Thank you, Mr. Newkirk. Budget and finance, Ms. Colby?
No report.
Thank you, Ms. Colby. Police, fire, and traffic, Mr. Foster?
Nothing.
Thank you, Mr. Foster. Service, Mr. Peters?
Yes, we have a DORA map. I spoke with Mr. Kirby before the meeting. We just need to have a list of the addresses and streets that are included. It's a much smaller map than we initially started with. We pumped the brakes on it because we weren't sure what was going to happen with the tax. There is some city funding that's required for portions of it, and it's not a lot of money. So I'll say this now, there may be some opposition for the funding, but there's a lot of public support for it as well, especially with the business owners that are involved. Everybody around us has a DORA. Back to those costs, there are some things that the city has to absolve for happiness and well-being of its citizens and its taxpayers. I'm sure the pool doesn't make a lot of money. There are lights and things that are constantly on in the parks that we have to pay for. So this kind of just falls along those lines as adult leisure, I would call it. But I will get the map and the street names to Mr. Kirby. We'll have to call one more service committee meeting to kind of finalize it, and then Mr. Kirby gets to do the rest of it. So we won't probably have this meeting till probably July.
We'll make note of that and discuss in the next meeting the possibility of a new date for July.
We'll have a date by the next meeting, we'll have a date.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Peters. Anything else?
No, that's all.
Thank you. Before we go to Mr. Reed, I just wanted to mention to council and to all, we did get our IT fixed. I thank you, Ms. Kuhn.
Yeah, but the only camera that will work is the one that's showing all of you guys, so that's what everyone is seeing. It's either that or black screen, so I chose to put it out there.
But I just wanted to let you know. So next, auditor's report, Mr. Reed.
We're having our state audit currently, and it's going very well. And to be a little clearer on Memorial Building, there is actually enough in this budget set up for this year that we could pay for the Memorial Building as specified right here. So as far as this current budget that we have already appropriated, would pay for the Memorial Building. So if that was a more specific answer to the question, we would be moving money from transfer out line items we have in the general and 228, and we use a little of the 234 money, and that would pay, but it's already appropriated this year. So,
Mr. President, as the service chair, I believe that includes buildings and grounds as well. Let's figure something out for public meeting before we waste more time.
I'm all for that.
So we could maybe have a DORA Memorial Building double header. So if you could figure that out, obviously we don't want to take any further steps without presenting it to the public first, but
So are you thinking in July 14th,
Sure, sounds great.
Mayor?
Give us 30 days.
We don't, I mean, we don't need a,
Why not in 2 weeks from tonight,
yeah, there we go.
before the next council
The
meeting?
23rd?
Yeah. We're already behind schedule if we're going to do this.
Do you think that's? Okay.
So one other question though, is we don't have any zoning board of appeals?
Not that I'm aware of.
We get
He told me there might be one for the next meeting.
too bad, too late. Let's push that one back.
We're unaware.
Yes.
I will say, we're at this time, due to Mr. Swartkammer's illness, and I hope he's feeling better, but I think,
It's not a hearing, it's just an
so it'd just be an informational meeting, correct? For,
Yeah, so it'd be a service committee meeting.
you want
How
to,
much time would we need, because are we gonna bring him back to present that again?
We could. I'd give it an hour.
So you would. Yeah,
I'd
probably
give it an hour.
6 o'clock?
6 o'clock to 14.
an hour for your part or total?
We want the
total.
door to be determined later, because he's gone for 2 weeks, we'll shoot a little further out. We still have some people.
Tracy, that fits in your schedule? Also, next, the 23rd? Yes. Okay, so that's what, 6 o'clock, the 23rd. We'll have an informational meeting then, led by the service committee,
In conjunction with the mayor.
in conjunction with the mayor, absolutely.
He'll run the meeting.
Okay,
We'll just facilitate.
sounds good. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kirby? Thank you. Mr. Hinch?
I'll try to be brief. I did do a statistical update through May. It should be in your packets. There is a concern with the dispatch console that may need to be needs to be upgraded for us to continue to dispatch through the fire department, and consolidates everything. It's an equipment upgrade, and it's probably something that would be good to talk about with police, fire, and traffic. If there's a chance that we could potentially meet and discuss that and get some feedback on this option. We're talking, it's about $170,000 upgrade that would be necessary for us to be able to continue to provide all of the services that we've provided, and I would love some feedback from that committee. So that's something I'd like this council to consider, whether we could potentially do that in a couple weeks as well. I know there's a lot of things on the agenda. Only other thing, there is an ordinance about a truck and trading in there. If people have questions with that, feel free for them to message me. And anything to do with the designated outdoor refreshment area, I'd love to be included in that. I've actually spoken to other chiefs of police and very supportive of it. Our agency is very supportive of it. It doesn't really ever have a uptick in crime. If there's people concerned that it just becomes a lawless, drunken land with something like that, that would be an extreme myth. And so if I can help dispel any of that, I do have some data from some other cities and chiefs that I've talked to that have discussed that. And I've been to other cities that have it. I've never seen any kind of a chaos that some people might try to bring up. And so I am supportive of that, if you could include me. I'd love to be invited for that, because I support that 100%.
Thank you, Chief Hinch. Questions? Yes, sir, Mr. Elliott.
Mr. Hinch,
Yes, sir.
do we have an ordinance about scooters?
About scooters, yeah, the bicycle, skateboard.
The one you stand on and fly by, it's
Yeah.
amazing speed.
There are classifications in Ohio, there's classifications of scooters, there's A, B, and C.
Now, these are the ones you stand on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so they're really kind of treated like bicycles
And
there.
they like appear out of nowhere. And there's a guy standing on them.
I've not seen them spontaneously, but yeah, they can, they're whisper quiet.
And it's dangerous.
That's true.
I'm saying, it's like these electric bikes. They'll be down the alley behind my house, you wouldn't believe it. They're just, so it's scary.
There are a lot of people using them for transport.
And I'm not against it. I'm just saying, should they be on the sidewalk, or
In the middle of the street.
can they slow down a little?
In the downtown, no, they should not be.
And I know it's going to hit pedestrians, but
That, according to the ordinance, they shouldn't be on the sidewalks there. Otherwise, they're treated like bicycles.
Okay.
They're treated no differently than bicycles, pedal scooters. You don't have to have a driver's license to have one, to operate it and to operate it on city streets. I will tell you statistically, we haven't had any incidents where we've had scooter crashes, scooter injuries. I'm not saying that it won't happen, because I've seen what you're talking about, that they're whisper quiet, they just kind of buzz out of,
Yeah.
it seems like they come out of nowhere. But for the most part, it's the responsibility of the rider to operate that like a bicycle. Bicycles can do the exact same thing, and they achieve about the same speeds, and they don't really make any noise either.
I know.
And so it's the same responsibility to the rider. As far as citation goes, if there are crashes, injury-causing incidents, it would be investigated and would follow just like traffic, pedestrian, and bicycle law.
okay.
Thank you, Chief Finch. Any other questions for Chief Finch? Mayor Evans?
Yeah, I'm gonna combine the service director's report with the mayor's report tonight. I'm gonna start with something you guys probably don't know much about, but we have expanded our trash can project in the city, and
Funny.
we had done a test, and of course that went to council last year. We did a project, and we have since expanded that citywide to where the city provides the trash cans. It has and will improve the process in which and how we handle trash in this town. And it's more in line with what's happening in most other cities too. Not everybody likes it, but I mean, honestly, I think generally it is well received, and a lot of people do like it, in spite of what you hear on the social media, probably. But, so that is, by the end of next week, that is supposed to be fully engaged citywide. Sure, we'll go through a training period where people don't want to comply and got to learn how to do it, but we've spoke to other cities that went through that too, and eventually it all works out pretty good. Update you quickly on several other projects that are going on since we haven't met here for a while. I'll talk about later, but there's an ordinance for our street paving project. I'll update you then. What's going on there? There's also an ordinance or legislation here tonight about our 93 South Water Line projects. I'm going to wait till I on it too. I do want to tell you, we've mentioned our street light project, where we're replacing street lights throughout town with new LED lights. Again, I just want to, it was a great idea that we are using our own electric department to install these. We're going to be able to replace probably 5 times as many lights in the city, most of them in fact, where we were only going to be able to do is, like 20-25% of them by doing it in-house. Mr. Slackhammer and Tracy was able to work that out. That was kind of unusual, but they worked it out, and we're going to be able to replace most of our lights and update them because we are doing it in-house with our own people. The downtown revitalization project, as it's called, working with Geiger Brothers on that, and BDT. He's the engineer architect for that also. That project is put out in several different bids. Those bids are out now. We expect something to start happening on that pretty soon. They have experienced some difficulty in getting some of the valve issues and stuff for the early part of that project, so we're not sure what the outcome of that is yet. But that was almost $4 million worth of grant money we have for that project. That's going to improve drastically our downtown, beginning with new water lines that are very, very old. And lastly, we have a bid opening this week, actually, for the part of the electric department, another electric department project where we're calling it voltage conversion. We have one area of town that's not been improved, still want a lower voltage. It's down along Huron Street and some of that area. It's probably our most problematic as far as overloads go. This project will solve that, increase the voltage so they can carry more amperage and not have low voltage or outages in that area. Our city electric is extremely dependable, and when there is issues, it's very quickly repaired. I bet with this, anybody in the country, frankly, but we're just making it even better. And so that project will probably be starting late this summer also. So just wanted to update you on that. So the other items we'll talk about as we get to the legislation.
Thank
That's all I
you.
have, Dan.
Thank you, Mayor. Questions for the mayor? Hearing none, we will move on to our ordinances and resolutions portion of our meeting. We will begin in the ordinances on first reading. Ms. Coon?
An ordinance authorizing the Service and Safety Director to advertise for sale or to enter into a single contract to trade in the 2012 Chevrolet Silverado vehicle and to sell it to the highest and best bidder as it is no longer needed for a municipal purpose under RC Section 721.15 and declaring an emergency.
Could I have a motion to accept ordinance 232025 as presented to council? Ms. Young, is there a second? Mr. Elliott? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The motion is carried. Mayor Evans, any discussion?
The chief mentioned it earlier, this is just where he would like to trade in an undercover truck to trade it in for one that is a little more undercover. This one is known now.
Chief Ince, did you have anything to add to that?
Other than, this is just an older truck that's really at its prime trade-in point. Its reliability starts to become questioned. We just want to replace it with something newer than that, more reliable than that, technologically capable to handle some of the equipment that's changed even since 2012.
Thank you, Chief. Other discussion?
Mr. President?
Mr. Elliott?
Suspend the rules.
Motion by Mr. Elliott to suspend, second by Mrs. Young. Discussion? Ms. Coon?
Foster?
Yes.
Elliott?
Yes.
Colby? Yes. Peters?
Yes.
Newkirk?
Yes.
Young?
Yes.
Bach?
Yes.
Further discussion? Ms. Coon?
Foster?
Yes.
Elliott?
Yes.
Colby? Yes. Peters? Yes. Newkirk? Yes. Young? Bach?
Yes.
Ordinance 232025 is duly adopted. Next, for council consideration on first reading, ordinance 242025. Ms. Coon?
An ordinance approving additional appropriations in the Parks, Trails, and Flood Mitigation Fund and declaring an emergency.
Could I have a motion to adopt ordinance 242025 as presented to council?
Motion to adopt?
Mr. Elliott, second by Ms. Colby. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried. Discussion. Mayor Evans.
Yes, this is just to appropriate some fund money that is actually, I'm going to ask you to receive back in resolution number 16. So it's a little out of order, but we're appropriating grant money.
Thank you, Mayor Evans. Discussion.
Move to suspend the rules.
Motion by Mr. Elliott to suspend, second by Mr. Newkirk. Discussion. Ms. Coon?
Foster?
Yes.
Elliott?
Yes.
Colby? Yes. Peters?
Yes.
Newkirk?
Yes.
Young? Bach?
Yes.
Further discussion. Ms. Coon?
Foster?
Yes.
Elliott?
Yes.
Colby? Yes. Peters?
Yes.
Newkirk?
Yes.
Young? Bach?
Yes.
Ordinance 242025 is duly adopted. Next, first reading, ordinance 252025. Ms. Coon?
An ordinance approving additional appropriations in the 93 South Waterline Project 2024 Fund and declaring an emergency.
Have a motion to adopt ordinance 252025 as presented to council. Mr. Newkirk, is there a second? Mr. Peters, second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The motion is carried. Discussion. Mr. Reed.
The 93 South Waterline project, if everybody remembers, was one that came in under budget. And Tracy can correct me since she's here and she does the projects. We had extra money. We went into Florence and and did water lines down there. With that addition, we were able to get additional grant money because we did not use all of it on the first part of the project. We are eligible to receive back $1,625,000. With this addition, we have a little bit of an increased match, but what we've done now is added to the project in order to get the additional match money. So we're asking for council to appropriate this $56,000, and basically that's on the sidewalks and the reconstruction and curbs down in Florence Avenue area. So it is more money, but it's out of the 1.6 million, the city's portion altogether, if we spend everything, is 151,000. So it's pretty much a great match for the city of Jackson. So if council could approve this, then go forth, and if you've been down through Florence, they're flying through the sidewalks, down through there in the curbs. So, I don't know if the mayor's got anything, or Tracy, but that's my understanding.
I just add that, yeah, the sidewalk work is underway right now.
Mr. Peters?
Appreciate the work in the first ward, but I'll move to suspend the rules.
Is there a second? Mr. Elliott, second? Discussion? Ms. Coon?
Foster.
Yes.
Elliott.
Yes.
Colby. Yes. Peters. Newkirk.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Bott.
Yes.
Further discussion? Ms. Coon?
Foster.
Yes.
Elliott.
Yes.
Colby. Yes. Peters.
Yes.
Newkirk.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Bott.
Yes.
Ordinance 25-2025 is duly adopted. Next, for council consideration, first reading, ordinance 25-2025. Ms. Coon?
An ordinance creating a pay policy to permit city employees who are City of Jackson volunteer firefighters to be paid for their response time to an emergency call to the fire station where the employee shall clock out of the city employee timekeeping system and declaring an emergency.
Do I have a motion to adopt ordinance 26-2025 as presented to council?
Move to adopt.
Mr. Elliott, is there a second? Mr. Bott, second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
The motion is carried. Discussion. Is there any further action to be taken on ordinance 26-2025 as presented to council?
You want to explain what's going on there?
Sure, go ahead. I'm sorry.
It had been questioned about, previously, about that time when a city worker is also in the fire department, when they get paid to do a call, the time they leave work until they get to the station, that time period had been called into question whether that, was legit or not, or does their time on the pay stop when they get the page. So, I know David had done some research where the state of Ohio actually grants paid leave to volunteer firefighters in an effort to try to, encourage that. So we thought, well, at least we get to clear it up to make sure it's not an issue, that we would make sure that is approved time from when they receive a page call to where they arrive at the fire station to clock out from their city job. And so this is to kind of make sure we're good there, and that's not a fraud issue or whatever.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yep.
Other discussion? Mr. Peters?
Question. This doesn't solve the issue of driving city equipment to the firehouse, leaving it there for hours on end. So that's, I think, more of the issue that you're not fixing with the pay situation. So, but I've contacted you, I've talked to you over and over about this. There's certain times of the day where you can go there and it looks like the city garage there, and the trucks and things are just sitting there, and sometimes for hours. I just don't think that's a good practice to use city equipment in that manner. There's be some sort of, to be honest with you, really just needs to be completely rebuilt from the ground up. We just keep adding these wrinkles to this. And I'll say it again, just kicking the can, just kick it down the road. I know you don't want to hear it, but
Well, the question that was raised and what seemed to be primarily that there was an issue with that time period, and this does solve that, where there's no question.
there's other
That's
city
okay.
policies, there are other city policies that are in blatant violation every single day. So rather than, like I said, add another wrinkle, we need to start back over on these policies and procedures. You guys worked seemed like your whole first term on the fire department policy and procedures. Last night I read through them, and I would say of the 52 pages, probably 25 are policies that are just not being followed. So it's like, there are bigger issues than what we're trying to tackle here.
I mean, that's fine, if you want to tackle bigger issues, fine.
Yeah.
This is an issue that did come to the surface, that actually has been a complaint filed with the state auditor, so we're just trying to fix that here with this, and this does fix that issue. Now, if you're worried about the policy and procedure manual, maybe we should have a new chief look at it, maybe it was just redone, I wasn't involved in it, it was redone, what, a year or two ago? But I got no problem with trying to redo our police department policy and procedure manual.
You mean the fire department?
I'm sorry, the fire department, yeah. But this is a particular issue that we received notice from the state auditor's office on, that this seemed to be an easy way to fix it, talking with Joe Kirby.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, this constitutes the first reading of ordinance 26-2025. Next, for council consideration, first reading, ordinance 27-2025. Ms. Coon?
An ordinance accepting grant and approving additional appropriations in the fire tax levy fund and declaring an emergency.
Could I have a motion to adopt ordinance 27-2025 as presented to council?
Move to adopt.
Ms. Young? Second by Mr. Elliott. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The motion is carried. Discussion. Mayor Evans.
Yeah, this is a grant that our police, or I'm sorry, I keep saying police, our fire had applied for and received. So this ordinance will accept it and appropriate it at the same time.
Other discussion?
I want to mention it was, it's in the, I thought it was in the title, but it's not. This is from a grant from TC Energy, which is a local gas distributor, I guess. Kyle, you want to add anything about that?
No, we just been looking for sources of funding. We knew this was available. We went out on a limb, applied, had no match. We asked for a little bit more than that, but they were gracious enough to come back with $11,500, zero match. And we're going to use it to buy gas monitoring equipment for carbon monoxide, ammonia, chlorine, stuff like that we have inside our city.
Did you say gas detection? I couldn't hear.
Yeah, gas detection. There are 4 gas monitors, and then a gas monitor that Columbia Gas, they've offered me to train us on it once we get it.
So the grant's already been received, we just need to accept the money. I'll move to suspend the rules to accept $11,500.
Motion by Mr. Peters. Is there a second? Mr. Elliott? Discussion? Ms. Coon?
Foster.
Yes.
Elliott.
Yes.
Colby. Yes. Peters.
Yes.
Newkirk. Young.
Yes.
Bach.
Yes.
Further discussion? Ms. Coon?
Foster.
Yes.
Elliott.
Yes.
Colby. Yes. Peters.
Yes.
Newkirk.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Bach.
Yes.
Ordinance 27-2025 is duly adopted. Now we'll move into the resolutions portion of our meeting. We'll begin with Resolution 11-2025 on third reading. Ms. Kuhn?
A resolution authorizing the Service and Safety Director to exchange the fire department's 3-inch fire hoses no longer needed for a municipal purpose for 4-inch fire hoses that will be used by the city and declaring an emergency.
Discussion.
Yeah, Mr. President, I asked for the itemized list, and this is it. This is it.
Yeah, this is it.
Interesting.
Further discussion? Ms. Coon?
Foster.
Yes.
Elliott.
Yes.
Colby. Yes. Peters.
No.
Newkirk. Young.
Yes.
Bach.
Yes.
Resolution 11-2025 is duly adopted. Next, for council consideration, first reading, is Resolution 15-2025. Ms. Coon?
A resolution authorizing an application by the City of Jackson to the Ohio Department of Natural Resources for the NatureWorks grant and declaring an emergency.
Could I have a motion to adopt Resolution 2025 as presented to council? Ms. Young? Is there a second? Mr. Newkirk? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The motion is carried. Discussion. Mayor Evans.
This is just allowing us to apply for a nature work grant with our DNR.
The timing is,
Yeah, I would ask it to be passed on first reading if possible. We used to do a grant application.
Mr. Newkirk moves to suspend, second by Ms. Colby. Discussion. Ms. Coon?
Foster.
Yes.
Elliott.
Yes.
Colby. Yes. Peters.
Yes.
Newkirk. Young.
Yes.
Bach.
Yes.
Further discussion. Ms. Coon?
Foster.
Yes.
Elliott.
Yes.
Colby. Yes. Peters.
Yes.
Newkirk.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Bach.
Yes.
Resolution 15-2025 is duly adopted. Next, for council consideration, first reading, Resolution 16-2025. Ms. Coon?
A resolution authorizing the mayor of the City of Jackson to execute a grant agreement with the Appalachian Regional Commission for funding for the Connecting Trails Plan Project and declaring an emergency.
Could I have a motion to adopt Resolution 16-2025 as presented to council? Ms. Colby, is there a second? Ms. Young? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion is carried. Discussion, Mayor Evans.
This just allows me to sign and execute the grant that we received for $50,000 that you appropriated back in ordinance number 24 earlier tonight.
Thank you, Mayor. Other questions?
Just refresh our memory on what trails we're connecting.
This is a new grant that we got, and our thoughts is to try to hire the engineering. We'll have to go through an RFP process, but the goal is to see if we can find a way to connect trails from the City of Jackson to Hammertown Lake.
Thank you, Mayor.
That's what this grant is for.
Other questions? Discussion?
I'll move to suspend.
Mr. Elliott, second. Mr. Peters made a motion. Discussion on the motion. Ms. Coon?
Foster.
Yes.
Elliott.
Yes.
Colby. Yes. Peters.
Yes.
Newkirk.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Bach.
Yes.
Further discussion?
Dan? Since Tracy's here, I'm gonna ask her to make sure I explain that correctly. Tracy?
Yes, that is correct. This is a grant that is for the engineering work for a feasibility study, and then we're hoping it can take us into design as well. So ultimately, we'd have a project to put out to bid. But, so this is just the first step. That's what this funding could be used for. So we've definitely going to apply for it. We felt like the city could utilize that.
Thank you, Ms. Plains. So discussion or questions for Ms. Plains? Ms. Coon?
Foster.
Yes.
Elliott.
Yes.
Colby. Yes. Peters.
Yes.
Newkirk.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Bach.
Resolution 16-2025 is duly adopted. Next, for council consideration, first reading, Resolution 17-2025. Ms. Coon?
A resolution of the legislative authority of the City of Jackson, Ohio to accept the bid of McKee Paving and Sealing LLC in an amount not to exceed $792,593.85, plus an amount of up to 30% of additional quantities at the bid prices for the 2025 City of Jackson Street Paving Program, as it was the lowest and best responsive bid submitted, and declaring an emergency.
Can I have a motion to adopt Resolutions 17-2025 as presented to council? Mr. Elliott, is there a second? Mr. Bach? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The motion is carried. Discussion, Mayor Evans.
This is just to accept the McKee paving bid. Once again, we'd like to, unless there's any reservations, pass it on first reading, so we can get them under contract.
Ms. Peters?
Good question. Maybe I asked this last year too, but 30%, but that's a lot of extra money. That's like $237,000 that you could go over.
Yes, and we did that last year. If we get a good bid, because you never know when you're taking bids. But bids were lower than expected this year. We put that in there so that we can pay substantially more if the price is right, without coming back to council. And we did that the last couple of years, actually.
Better way to do it, to make sure they bid by the amounts. So in other words, not just that they're going to do that much more. If they get to do the paving, they bid it by the amount of the asphalt cost, so they can continue and add back to it. In other words, they could do additional paving if they get their work done and they've got additional streets to pave. It would still be covered by the bid, so it would still be bid pricing. Is that right, Mr.?
Right. It sounds like they're doing a single project and they could go 30% over, and that's not it. They can give us more if we have the need. They can give us 30% more of the paving for the same price, the same bid price. So
Yeah, it's not more money for the same amount of work. If we like what we're getting, we can just do more work with it. And we're buying asphalt by the ton. Is what we're doing.
One other question. We get, occasionally we'll get the list of the streets that are to be paved. What's the big picture of that? Are we gonna spend this every year until the end of days? Or is at some point when we catch up, I heard you on the radio or the TV say, we'll just start back over. At what point do we maintain and stretch it out? Some of these streets haven't been ever probably paved in my lifetime.
That's correct.
I'm not as old as some of you. But you're just gonna start over? Like at what point is there some maintenance involved? And we got like this, we're gonna do this every 10 years instead of every 5, or we do this every 15 based on the wear. Because there's some streets that are gonna last longer than others. You're not gonna be in that seat forever, so but what's the plan? Like we just start back over?
Well, and I've been saying this, I've had the same plan since the beginning. I figure at the rate we're going, it'll take 10 years to pave every street. And we've been paving, so it'll be our 5th year paving, and we will be over halfway done. And more than half of the streets, but there's a lot of other things, parking lots and stuff too, parks and all that also require paving or maintenance. I think it'll take 10 years to get them all. I think it will be time to start over. I don't think this is a process that will ever end at the rate we're going. $1 million, we try to do, this is 800,000. We try to do $1 million worth of paving. It sounds like a lot, but we're getting maybe, 5 miles a year. We've got 52 miles of streets in town. So it takes 10 years to do it, and if it's been 10 years since the street's been paved, it probably needs it again. Some of them need more than just paving. Most of our streets don't have a real good base. They weren't, they were dirt roads, then they were gravel roads. Some of them then were brick streets, and then they got paved. They never were really built as a road, as a paved road with a proper base and stuff. So we try to do more and more as we can, a full depth repair when needed. We're going to try to do some of that this year. In fact, some of the streets that we'd like to pave, we don't feel like we can pave because we know it's not going to hold up. Robin Hill is a good example of that. So we're not going to pave it, but we're going to try to do some full depth repairs with some of our paving money. Then hopefully in coming years, we will be able to pave it because it'll be holding up better. But at the rate we're going, it will never end. By the time we get them all paved and everything paved, it will be time to start over. Start over by meaning either doing a better job of paving or just sealing or something like that. But we're on about a 10-year plan. Hopefully, you're right, I won't be in this seat forever. Hopefully, when I'm gone, this will be able to continue because, like you said, there's many streets in town that haven't been paved during your lifetime. But we don't want that to happen again. So
the second part of the question is, you talk about curbs and sidewalks and these things. 5 years in, and even just in my ward, we're just now getting to some of the curbs and sidewalks that are, I know the ones on Pearl Street are original, because you dig them out of there, they have, like someone used a chisel to cut that thing out of a piece of rock or something and buried it in the ground 150 years ago or 200 years ago, however long it's been there. But what I'm getting at, I guess my question is, can we move a little bit faster on some of the other projects rather than just paving? That's my question.
we are. I mean, I feel like we are picking up the pace a little bit on our sidewalk and curb work. The first year we paved, the first year or two, we didn't do as much. Now we have a crew working all the time on curbs and sidewalks. Back then, we were just kind of hit and miss with it. So we've got a crew pretty much dedicated to curbs and sidewalks now, so that beginning this year, beginning late last year. And of course, they got held up some through the winter when the weather didn't allow it. But we plan to continue that. In the 10-year, time frame I kind of use for paving, we won't have all the sidewalks and curbs done. It's kind of trailing it a little bit, but that is our goal because, and you've heard me say this before too, every curb and sidewalk in this town, if we haven't fixed it in the last 5 years, it probably needs it. Just like paving streets, if we haven't paved it in the last, since we've been doing this, it needs it. And it's not, the curbs and the sidewalks and the paving are the things you see. The things you don't see need replaced too. Fortunately, for the last few years, and by that I mean water and sewer work, because, same thing almost. If it hadn't been replaced in the last several years, water and sewer lines, they need replaced. They're all old. Some of them, we just like we did on paving, and just like we're trying to do on sidewalks, we attack the worst and the biggest needs first. But we'll never get caught up in that either. This is a continual process that will need to go on from now on.
One more question, and I'll stop on that. Sorry. I represent portions of the two busiest streets traveled in town. Two of the busiest, not South and Pearl. Had the tax not passed, these are questions that I wanted to ask beforehand, but I didn't want to muddy any of the waters. But my people in my ward are like, hey, I don't want to vote for this tax because I've paid for it for 5 years and my street looks like crap. I represent one side of Pearl Street and the section of South, just past up Carta's back, all the way to Maine. Are those two streets on the list this year to be paved? So when people ask me, I can say, yeah, your street's finally going to get paved.
You should have the paving list in your packet.
You told me to hold on to it.
Okay, I'm sorry. We'll get this to you here tonight. There is the paving list, and those two streets are on it for this year.
Thank you.
You don't want one, do you? You want one? Other discussion? Mr. President. Mr. Ellis. Maintenance goes on until the end of days. Very well put. The end of days.
Well, I'll just add to that. If you want to see what happens when you don't do it, that's what we were facing 5 years ago.
I know. That's maintenance for you, right?
Did we pass this yet?
Do we have any?
No, we have not. Well, we have brought motion is passed, we've had discussion. Now we are at the point of asking Is there any further action to be taken?
Mr. President,
Mr. Elliott.
I move that we suspend the rules.
I'll second that.
Second. Further discussion? Ms. Coons?
Foster.
Yes.
Elliott.
Yes.
Colby. Yes. Peters.
Yes.
Newkirk.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Bach.
Yes.
Further discussion? Ms. Coons?
Foster.
Yes.
Elliott.
Yes.
Colby. Yes. Peters.
Yes.
Newkirk.
Yes.
Young. Bach.
Resolution 172025 is duly adopted. Next, for council consideration, first reading, Resolution 182025. Ms. Coon?
Resolution of necessity for a cemetery levy and requesting the auditor of the County of Jackson to certify the total tax valuation and revenue that will be generated upon a renewal of a 1.5 mil cemetery levy for the city of Jackson and declaring an emergency.
Could I have a motion to adopt Resolution 182025 as presented to council? Ms. Colby, is there a second? Mr. Newkirk, second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The motion is carried. Discussion. Mayor Evans.
The first step in the process of getting our cemetery levy back on the ballot to be renewed.
Thank you, Mayor. Other discussion?
Mr. Reed, is this levy still doesn't bring in enough money to fund the cemetery, correct?
Not completely, no. But this is, what this, okay, but this levy is, this is just a first step. You can, I don't know if you would have time at this point. When does this have to, I'm not sure when this has to hit, but you have to certify the amounts through the county at the 1.5, and that's what this is doing. If we're doing a different levy or increasing the levy, that would be to Joe, what would have to be done by council in order to do that, change it.
So you're,
Not to interrupt, but we discussed this previously when this came up for renewal, that we would maybe look at figuring out if we needed to up the millage. So here we are now, and we didn't do anything.
Well, are you meaning like make it a replacement instead of a renewal?
Well, we didn't even discuss it, so we didn't make it that far, but we talked about this.
Well, now's the time to discuss it.
Well, I feel like we're under the gun here, so what else we can discuss? We probably missed the ball a little bit on this one.
you could amend this one to do,
Right, but we, like, it's like arbitrarily shooting in the dark right now, we don't have any numbers or
well,
anything.
so if you do this as a replacement, she'll certify the amount for the replacement, so you'll know the number when you go to put it on the ballot. So this will have to be, this will need to be passed to give you enough time to pass the ballot language and get it to the Board of Elections by August.
Right, but that.
This will tell you the amount.
It's 5 years, right? Isn't that what it is? It's a 5-year?
So this is a 5-year, and it's a renewal, so it'll be at the same rate. If you wanted to look to see what's going to be more, you could change it to a replacement, or you could get this one passed and then look at an additional levy on top of this one at any time.
Thank you, Mr. Kirby. Other discussion?
Well, I moved to suspend the rules so we can get it to the auditor to be certified.
Okay. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Elliott. Further discussion? Mr. Elliott?
Mr. Auditor, a replacement levy, we don't question would bring in more money, right?
Once it's a replacement would, a replacement is also harder to pass.
Right.
So the question then becomes what route you want to go as a council. I mean, we collect the money and we spend the money, but whatever, I don't put the ballots on and the amounts. So as far as what it brings in, I can get that to you very easily, any day.
You could also get us the expenses of the cemetery, right?
Yeah, I can get you the expenses and how the cemetery's operating.
I think we should just move forward with the way that it is, and then we do need to revisit it because it does lose money. I don't know how much, but I know he's gonna come back and tell us, all right, that doesn't make this much money, blah, blah, blah. Still owes me a ham sandwich.
No. You've never paid the ham sandwich, and actually the cemetery, the cemetery has the best.
I think
Oh, yeah, okay. There is a motion on the floor.
Yes, but there was discussion on the motion, so that's where we are with that. So I'll open it back up to further discussion. If there be any. Ms. Coon?
Foster.
Yes.
Elliott.
Yes.
Colby.
Yes.
Peters.
Yes.
Newkirk. Young. Bach.
Yes.
Discussion. Ms. Coon?
Foster.
Yes.
Elliott.
Yes.
Colby. Peters.
Yes.
Newkirk.
Yes.
Young. Bach.
Resolution 182025 is duly adopted. Next, for council consideration, first reading, Resolution 192025. Ms. Coon?
A resolution of the legislative authority of the City of Jackson, Ohio to enter into an electrical service contract with Jackson 1024 LLC and to accept the bid of Linecraft LLC in an amount not to exceed $76,080.96 for the State Route 93 line relocation project as it was the lowest and best responsive bid submitted and declaring an emergency.
Could I have a motion to adopt Resolution 192025 as presented to council? Ms. Young, is there a second? Mr. Peters? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried. Discussion, Mayor Evans.
This is to relocate some electric service lines down along 93 for the Starbucks. This is where allow us to hire the contractor to relocate those wires and to enter into the contract with the parent owner of the Starbucks for them to pay for it.
Thank you, Mayor Evans. Discussion, Mr. Peters.
I'll move to suspend the rules.
Motion to suspend,
Hold up the project.
second, Ms. Colby. Discussion. Ms. Coon?
Foster.
Yes.
Elliott.
Yes.
Colby. Yes. Peters.
Yes.
Newkirk.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Bach.
Further discussion. Ms. Coon?
Foster.
Yes.
Elliott.
Yes.
Colby. Yes. Peters.
Yes.
Newkirk.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Bach.
Resolution 192025 is duly adopted. Next, council consideration, first reading, Resolution 2020-25. Ms. Coon?
A resolution authorizing and approving the purchase of real property being Jamestown Lots 72 and 73 in the city of Jackson, authorizing the mayor to enter and execute a real estate purchase contract and to take all additional action necessary to complete the purchase and transfer of the property for $25,000 and declaring an emergency.
Could I have a motion to adopt Resolution 202025 as presented to council? Move to adopt. Mr. Elliott, is there a second? Mr. Bott, second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The motion is carried. Discussion, Mayor Evans.
This lot is down on Harding Avenue between where the farmer's market is usually held, which is city-owned property, and the railroad track. It is owned by Sextons. The city at some point in the past have put some pretty good sewer lines across it without proper easements. And I'm not sure if it's storm sewer or sanitary sewer. David was handling this. But they've discovered this when they were trying to sell the lot. And actually, it's probably less costly for the city to just buy the lot rather than to try to relocate those lines and make the lot usable. So it would just add to our property there that we have there where the farmer's market is.
Thank you, Mayor. Discussion? Any further action to be taken on Resolution 202025 as presented to council?
Motion to suspend.
Mr. Elliott, is there a second? Ms. Young? Discussion? Ms. Coon?
Foster.
Yes.
Elliott.
Yes.
Colby. Yes. Peters. Newkirk. Young.
Yes.
Bob.
Further discussion?
So, just to clarify, we put the sewer line there a long time ago, I'm assuming?
Not recently.
How's that happen?
Happens, yes.
Mr. Peters, Mr. Coon, or Ms. Coon?
Foster.
Yes.
Elliott.
Yes.
Colby. Yes. Peters. Newkirk.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Bob.
Resolution 2025 is duly adopted.
Dan,
Yes,
just
sir.
to clarify, that was as far as mayor.
Before you were born.
Maybe.
The chair would like to thank council for their work this evening on the resolutions and ordinances. Next on our agenda is correspondence. And Ms. Coon, I don't believe we have any that's come to us. Next, we have old business. Is there any old business to be brought before council?
Question.
Mr. Bob?
Mr. Mayor, is there any good news, bad news, or whatever with regards to Tim Horton and Starbucks? Are they coming? Are they not coming? Has anybody heard anything?
They both plan on coming. They're both moving forward at this point.
I've had questions and I've heard different stories.
No, they're both moving forward.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bob. Any other new, old business, I should say, to come before council? Hearing none, new business to come before council. Mayor, would you like to give a report on the planning commission meeting that was at 6:15 this evening?
No. So there was a planning commission meeting that made a recommendation, that passed a motion to make a recommendation to council. I think Joe has that in writing. Is that correct?
So the amendment will be to the definition of front yards. Say the front yard is the section of the yard in front of what was traditionally thought of as the front of the building, based on the primary road that it fronts and its address. The side yard would be the same for the side, and the back would be the same as that part of the yard immediately behind the structure. So that will eliminate the issue of side yards. So side yards will then, fences and side yards on corner lots will be able to come up to the front lot, right up even with the front of the house.
And Joe will be bringing us legislation related to that to the next meeting, I think. Is that correct?
That's the plan.
Mr. Kirby.
Thank you.
There were actually, wasn't there two other items? But regardless, he'll be bringing legislation for those.
I think the others were on the zoning appeals board.
Okay, my bad.
And then, did you have a comment?
So-
Yeah.
Zoning appeals, we
Yes.
granted a variance, two variances on zoning on 401 West Main.
Thank you, Mr. Elliott. Mr.
The
Kirby?
mayor's right, there was one other thing in the planning commission. That was to correct an error on the fence height. The new zoning regulations set those at 8 feet, and they're going to be corrected to go back to 6 feet. Is that the other?
Mr. President. There's a third one too, Joe.
The map we're still looking at to see if it was included
Oh,
in
yeah.
the
I do have a question. We will be able to argue and hammer out that ordinance that's brought to council on those side. I still don't like it, the side yard bit. So we can argue that later, right?
Sure. I think that will be a point of discussion at tonight's
Okay,
meeting.
very good, very good.
Just one thing under new business, the council made a voice vote to save 2 brick streets, but there's no formal resolution. I was looking for it on this website, and it's not there because it's only in the council minutes. So I would like to have a resolution come back to council, making sure that the public and the future knows that we want to save Columbia and Church Streets. which we canceled a paving job over them last year. But something also, marking those, either it be on a street sign or a stop sign or something, that, just in case we forget, hey, there's a sign there that says these need to be kept brick forever, so. Just like to have something formal that we can actually adopt and it get recorded, properly. The second, thing, and I'll make it quick, is, we need to fix, the processes that we're using at the volunteer fire department right now. We've got an ordinance that came to us that was tabled. We need to reclassify the leadership. And whether that be the incumbents, so whoever takes those seats stay, that's fine. But we need a more consistent leadership group running that department. The taxpayers voted to fund it. It's also included in the new income tax, and that income tax is permanent. I have several pieces of legislation that we could kind of start to work with, but ultimately, we need to make that place manned all the time, not just by beeping them in there. The money isn't a thing. We've been told that too, and we can swing. Well, like Mr. Reed said, if you could get enough traction on this, you can fund it. We'll find the money somewhere. Their budget now is roughly, with their levies and everything, around $360,000, which is not a lot of money to fund something that is there 24/7, 365 days a year, and it needs to be manned at all times, because ultimately, no matter what, no matter how pretty our streets are, or how pretty a tree is, or how tall and strong a curb is, we don't have anything without public safety. So, this is my opinion, and I'm sure most of you agree, that police and fire are probably the most important departments in the whole city, besides water treatment. I mean, we need water to drink, but these guys are protecting those assets at all times. I talked earlier about policy. They spend a lot of time on the policy and procedure book, and even in it, it says employee like 5 or 6 times. They're volunteers. It commingles Jackson Volunteer Fire Department and Fire Department, Jackson Fire Department. There's just so much uncertainty. It's ambiguous. It's like, we need to do the right thing. It doesn't have to happen today. It doesn't have to happen, tomorrow, but we need to start planning to take care of that situation. 2 or 3 years ago, we talked about, we had to join this mutual aid agreement because we didn't have enough people. So we joined this, and there was a whole thing with that where, we debated whether we needed it or not. So then the roster was, I hate to use the word, but the roster was aging. So we still really didn't try to fix the problem for long term. So now here we are in a situation where most of the people who are making the runs during the day or evening or anyone are already city employees as well. It kind of just makes the argument, if there's that big of a demand, we need that many people, and we're taking people from their other city positions to move them around, then there's a need for it. So like I said, we've been hit with funding. We have, like Mr. Elliott says, we have a permanent tax for the foreseeable future until someone decides they don't want it anymore. I would love to meet with the police, fire, and traffic committee, or we could just meet, offline together without, a group, and just kind of get the ball rolling. We don't need to fix this today. We don't need to fix it tomorrow. We got to have a plan in place for the future. I read through some of the emails that they sent out. Jackson hasn't really grown, but then you go through our minutes and you go through our notes, and it's like, well, we had a record number of calls. Well, if we have a record number of calls and we're still manning it the same way, then we do have a problem. We need to fix that. I know I talked about it, and I've been called names like Dave Wilkin, I've been called, like I have a vendetta. I do have a vendetta, because I do care about public safety. Family, uncles, all involved in it. So, yeah, I do have a spot for it, and yes, it does need to run properly. Because ultimately, they are in charge of, we pick up the phone and dial the, 911, they're gonna show up. We need to have a better plan in place for staffing. Once again, don't want to hear anybody say we can't afford it because it's just garbage. So I'll gladly speak or talk to anyone, share what I have. And if nobody wants to do it, and nobody wants to participate, I'll do it. I'll get the ball rolling. So that's all I had. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Peters. Other new business items?
You have a question?
Mr. Rader? Sorry?
No, just a question, and I don't know, I had talked to Mr. Peters on funding and what's available. And the question there becomes, if you're spending money for police and fire, you've got two entities. And I don't know what direction council would like to go. And I'm not even sure, as far as Mr. Peters, what direction he wants to go with everything. Can you fund could you possibly fund a position? I would say yes. But does that fix your staffing? I don't know these questions. That's why there should be a consultation amongst everybody. Because when you're dividing up money, right now, your police department eats a little over $2 million. So what you're looking at, there needs to be an agreement between this council, administration, police, and your fire working together to sit down and what are you going to do this? You can't, no, can you fund a full fire department and a police department 24/7? Not with current money. Can you fund one person at the fire department? I would say yes, you probably could. What is the purpose though? And I don't know the answers to these. Does one person run a truck? No, but one person could be there and have things ready. One person possibly could do some of the work. But these aren't issues that they need to be looked at in the long term by council. What is the goal? Because, no, I could not, to clarify there a little bit is what I'm saying, you can't fund a full-time fire department and a full-time police department off the levy. Could you fund a position down there? I believe you could. So what does one person do? What's the benefits? That's something for somebody in that area to address.
Thank you, Mr. Reed. Mr. Bob? Mayor Evans?
I just want to respond from this administration to both their comments about the fire department. Since I've been here, there was a time, and you all remember it, I'm sure, when I had serious concerns about this. We were down to like 6 firefighters. And it was a serious concern. And maybe we do need to do better in some ways. But I want to make it clear that the administration thinks that the fire department has built itself back up. I think they've got 17 or 18 members. We respond to calls pretty well now. I don't feel that same way anymore. In fact, I think they're doing a really good job right now. So I just want to throw that out there. I don't want people to be, think this is an emergency concern here, and no one said there was. But when we're talking about it, usually that makes people wonder about it. I want to commend the fire department. I think they're doing a great job right now. And we have got a lot of, I think you said it a few years ago, they were aging, and then they dropped in numbers to a dangerous level. That was when they had that agreement he referred to. But I think they're doing a great job right now, and I'm thankful for them.
Just one other comment. I get misconstrued all the time. If I come across negative, I'm not trying to be negative. No one's taking anything away from what they're doing.
I think that they need a full-time manager. I think they need more accountability from a management standpoint. That's where we need to start.
Thank you, Mr. Peters. Any other discussion, new business? Hearing none, I believe we need a motion to adjourn into executive session.
Can we cover both topics under one session, or do we need to?
Yes, we can. I'm not your legal advisor, but
One is for
I can read that. All right, so I'll make a motion to enter an executive session for 2 points. 1, to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, demotion, or compensation of a public employee. And 2, to conference with an attorney for the public body concerning disputes involving the public body that are subject of pending or imminent court action. I would ask that the gallery be excused, and everyone at the table stay seated.
Is there a second to the motion? Ms. Young? Ms. Coon?
Foster. Elliott.
yes.
Colby. Yes. Peters.
Yes.
Newkirk. Young.
Yes.
Bach.
We'll enter into executive session at 8:43. Mr. Wilson, I do not expect any legislation or decision